All right, let's take a deep breath together and dive into the incredible engineering marvel that's working inside your chest right now, your respiratory system. I mean, think about it. It's this amazing machine we use thousands of times a day, and we don't even give it a second thought. So, let's find out how it all actually works.
To get started, let's ask a question that sounds kind of simple, but is actually super important. Why can't you just breathe through your skin? Like a frog or an earthworm does. The answer to that is the key to why this whole complex system even needs to exist in the first place.
And the answer? Well, it all boils down to a fundamental problem of scale. See, as living things get bigger and more active, the simple solutions that work for tiny creatures, well, they just don't cut it anymore. Here's the core of the issue. A tiny little organism, right? It has a massive amount of skin or surface area compared to its insides, its volume. So oxygen can just kind of slowly soak in and get to where it needs to go. Easy. But us, we're the complete opposite. We're huge, active beings with a crazy high demand for energy. Our skin surface is tiny compared to our massive internal volume. Trying to get oxygen to our deep tissues just by soaking it through our skin would be, well, it would be hopelessly slow. It just wouldn't work.
So to solve this problem of scale, our bodies needed a serious upgrade. We needed a dedicated spot for gas exchange, a specialized surface. We needed an efficient delivery service, that's our blood, to carry the goods. And we needed a powerful ventilation system, a pump, to keep the whole process running smoothly. This is the exact challenge our respiratory system was brilliantly designed to solve. So how did evolution build this incredible solution? It all starts with a pathway, a whole series of finely tuned pipes and passages. So let's follow a single breath of air on its journey deep into your body.
Okay, so the air first enters through your nasal cavity, and right away it's getting treated. It gets warmed up, moisture is added, and it's filtered. It's kind of like a high-tech HVAC system for your body. From there, it travels down your windpipe, the trachea, which then splits into two big branches called the bronchi, one for each lung. Those branches keep splitting into smaller and smaller airways, the bronchioles, until finally they end up in these teeny tiny air sacs called the alveoli. And that right there is the final destination. And the engineering along this whole pathway is just so clever. Your trachea and bronchi, they're propped open by these C-shaped rings of cartilage so they don't collapse when you breathe. The airways are also lined with special cells that make sticky mucus to trap any dust or junk. And then these microscopic little hairs called cilia are constantly waving, pushing that mucus up and out. And then, deeper down, smooth muscle wraps around the smaller airways, tightening or relaxing to control exactly how much air gets through. It is an incredibly dynamic and intelligent system.
Okay, so we've got the plumbing all figured out. But how do we actually get the air to move through it? Let's take a look at the engine that powers every single breath you take.
Now, here's something that's absolutely crucial to get. Breathing in, what we call inspiration, that's an active process. It takes muscle power, it takes energy. But breathing out, at least when you're just resting, that is almost completely passive. It's really just a matter of letting everything relax.
Okay, so let's walk through an inhale together. First, your diaphragm. That's a huge dome-shaped muscle under your lungs. It contracts and flattens out. At the exact same time, the muscles between your ribs contract and they pull your whole rib cage up and out. All of this makes your chest cavity bigger. And when the volume increases, the pressure inside your lungs drops. And nature hates a vacuum, right? So air from the outside just rushes in to even things out. That's a breath in.
So then how do you exhale? You just relax. That's it. The diaphragm relaxes and domes back up, those rib muscles let go, and your rib cage settles back down and in. This shrinks the space in your chest, which squeezes the air in your lungs. Now the pressure inside is higher than the pressure outside, and so the air just flows out. It's simple, it's elegant, and it's incredibly efficient.
So we've successfully moved air into the deepest parts of the lungs. Now it's time to zoom in, way in, down to the microscopic level. This is where the real magic happens, the whole reason for this entire system.
At the very end of all those tiny little airways, you have these microscopic air sacs called alveoli. And you don't just have a few, you have over 300 million of them. If you could somehow take them all out and lay them flat, they would cover an entire tennis court. That is the massive surface area we need to make gas exchange possible.
And these little alveoli are just perfectly built for their job. Their walls are what's called squamous epithelium, which is a fancy way of saying they are only one single cell thick. super, super thin. They're also lined with a thin layer of moisture, which helps oxygen dissolve so it can move into the blood. And each and every one is wrapped in this incredibly dense web of tiny blood vessels called capillaries, which are just waiting to pick up that oxygen.
And this, right here, this is the absolute stroke of genius in the design. The wall of the air sac and the wall of the capillary are literally fused together. This means the distance oxygen has to travel to get from the air into your blood it's almost nothing. It's unbelievably short. And that is the absolute key to making this whole exchange happen incredibly fast and efficiently.
So all of these incredible features we've been talking about, the massive surface area, those paper-thin walls, they're not just random design choices. They are all working together to master a fundamental law of physics. They're playing by the rules of the game.
And that law is called Fick's law. Now, it looks like a math formula, but don't let that fool you. Just think of it as the simple design principles for any gas exchange system. Basically, to make gases move really, really fast, you need three things: a huge surface area, a big difference in the concentration of the gas, and you have to make the travel distance as tiny as you possibly can.
And this is where it all comes together. This is the big aha moment. To maximize that surface area variable, the lungs have 300 million alveoli. To keep a steep concentration gradient, you're constantly breathing to bring in fresh oxygen, and your blood is constantly flowing to whisk that oxygen away. And to make the diffusion distance ridiculously small, you have those one-cell thick walls that are fused together. The entire system is just a masterclass in optimizing Fick's law.
So just today, your body is going to perform this incredible silent process more than 20,000 times. From the big muscles that create the pressure changes all the way down to the microscopic sacs perfectly obeying the laws of physics. It just works. It all works in perfect harmony. So my question for you is, now that you know a little more about it, which part of this amazing, invisible process amazes you the most?